Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Now, this video, decided by you guys, will be talking about how to balance your bigger and smaller projects, whether it's digital art, regular art, but mainly regular art, because that is where sometimes most people are focused. For me, it's extremely hard to balance bigger poster-sized projects and smaller projects, because both can vary in the time that you work on them. It's extremely hard, but it can be very accomplishing if you can master it. So, depending on your projects, for some regular projects, sometimes for me, it takes me, even the smaller ones, sometimes days or sometimes just hours to complete and finish and work on. But the bigger projects take a longer amount of time. Doing bigger projects can be very difficult. Depending on the project itself, it takes a lot of rendering and a lot of things that you have to worry about and do. Doing bigger projects, for me, the best advice I can give you on that front is sometimes it has to be something that you can stick with for a long while, because doing art is draining. Doing any type of art is draining, or doing anything can be draining. And worrying about, getting something done, as long as the thing is, you worry about sleeping on the job. It's about sometimes getting stuff done, but if you rush things and you don't take your time, you have to be willing to balance three key things. The first is making sure that what you put down is something that you're happy with, no matter what it is, in a professional sense or just in a sense in general. When you're doing art, it has to be something that you can look back at and still kind of be somewhat happy with. The second is, do not rush what you're putting out, especially for a big project. Taking your time can be key, but you have to, sometimes you can work in small bursts. The best advice I can give on bigger projects is do things depending on the complexity and the amount of characters. Focus on working on and getting those certain characters done one at a time, but make sure the rendering and the details are as good as you can get it and you're happy with it. And do keep working on that each time you do character, because if you aren't happy with it and you're working on too much, like let's say for instance, you're doing this character and then you just hop over and do this one and then this one and this one, a little bit there and a little bit there and a little bit there, you're doing too much, which is a trap that I fall into a lot of the time. The best advice I can give is focus on working in small bursts, and especially in a bigger project, and balancing that can be hard but key. So, depending on the complexity, you have to be willing to focus on my biggest problem, and this is the third thing: don't have too many bigger projects at once. Now, this is a trap that I've fallen into, and I do a lot of the time, is having too many big projects and too many things that you have to do at once. And that can be a very challenging and very difficult thing to do, because if you have all these big projects, all these big posters, that's a lot of rendering and a lot of time that you can be doing this stuff, and it's very challenging because sometimes you'll just be very drained and not even completely even want to work on it after a few hours or maybe even a few seconds. And if it's something especially that at first you were excited about but now you just don't even want to fool with, it can pretty much ruin the experience, ruining the idea of doing art. And I think, first thing I can give as a fourth piece of advice is something that people have told me: focus. I was about to say focus. focus on doing smaller projects like characters or portfolios or just scenes, working on maybe doing a comic page or a or just doing something from the city or just animals or people. Focus on doing stuff like that, and then you'll get an idea of doing things a lot easier. And then when you do want to work on a big project, you have enough things built in you already to know, like, you can sometimes be quicker about it and get down what you want to get down, and somewhat it'll still be a very long process, but it'll still basically dull down the amount of time that you need to get things done. So there are 7 key factors that can help you, and those are, you know, first, work in small bursts. Second, focus on smaller projects first. And 3, first, when you're doing smaller projects, make sure that you get an eye for how to do posters or portfolio or bigger projects. Especially if you're doing like a character in a city, or you're doing a fight scene, or just doing a grandiose thing, make sure you have enough things built in you already for rendering and details and all that stuff, to where you know how much to apply and put down, whether it's regular art or digital. It gives you enough experience, mainly, to get an eye for things and what to put down and how to do certain things, because that is key. And it can be key in multiple facets.